neighborhood on lockdown. You're thinking of the poor parents trying to get their children who are in that elementary school lockdown. They haven't been able to be released as well. So this is a neighborhood on lockdown. Police actively looking for a third shooter right now. And again, if this person is linked to that shooting, they are heavily armed.
Right. 14 dead, 17 injured, and we will say that some of those 17 injured are badly injured. Some are in surgery. Denise Dodor, she has been standing by at Loma Linda. She's trying to get the status of some of the patients that they have received. They're a Trauma 1 center, so they have received a few of the patients, but they are spread out throughout San Bernardino getting treatment, and we're trying to keep up with how they are doing as well.
And I do know that Loma Linda Medical Center is supposed to have a news conference at 5 o'clock, and again, Denise Dodor is there.
Standing by for that, a couple of press conferences, both at the hospital and with PD. We're waiting on those. In the meantime, police are hunting for that third suspect in the deadly mass shooting in San Bernardino. A pursuit and gun battle ended on Davidson Street, not too far from the scene of the shooting spree. 2 suspects are down, confirmed dead. SWAT officers are now going door to door in the neighborhood trying to find the third suspect. 1 San Bernardino police officer was injured in the shootout but is expected to survive. 3 gunmen, armed with reportedly long guns, opened fire inside the Inland Regional Center at about 11 o'clock this morning. 14 people confirmed dead, 17 others injured from the shooting at the facility, but still no word on what may have motivated the attack. And all those questions we hope to answer. Investigators are on the scene now, combing the scene. We don't believe the building is being cleared any longer, but we still have not received confirmation of that yet either, because they did talk about how large this facility was where the gunman stormed into, employing as many as 600 people and 3 different buildings. A big place for something like this to happen, so it's time-consuming to really get a gauge on how far and wide this shooting was.
David, thank you. Michelle Toozy here along with Mark Brown as we begin Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock, and we are following a day of tragedy and dramatic developments following this mass shooting at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino. It took place at about 11 o'clock this morning, and what we've seen in the aftermath of that horrific scene today that took the lives of at least 14 people, we've seen a fierce gun battle on the streets of San Bernardino that took place between the hours of 3 and 4 o'clock, in which 2 suspects were killed. We've also been monitoring very closely the dramatic search for a possible third suspect, still believed to be at large in the San Bernardino neighborhood. We are following this from the ground and from Air 7, and let's see if we can check in now with JT Alpa, who is in Air 7 HD. JT.
Bill, Michelle, let me give you a little bit of an idea of what we're looking at here. I'm going to go a little bit wide here so you can give you an idea of what's happening. That's the 10 freeway from the east to the west, and we are looking south at it. We are right over San Bernardino Airport. And what you're seeing here, this entire neighborhood right in my frame right now, that's the neighborhood that is locked down. It is bordered by the railroad tracks on the north, and that is going to be Richardson, this street here, and that's where Victoria Elementary School is. That is completely locked down. The neighborhoods east of Richardson, all the way down to the 10 freeway, all the way east to Citrus is absolutely shut down. So this is an extremely large containment or perimeter, at least maybe 10, 12 blocks. You can see some cars coming in and out, but we've got SWAT units, K-9 units, completely locked down. Apparently they've got some very good information on that third suspect, because this is a very large containment perimeter. They're not taking any chances with that right now. So what they're going to do is methodically go through this house-to-house search, exteriors of the house, yard-to-yard search, absolutely lock it down to make sure that this third suspect isn't here. Live from Air 7HE, JT Alpha, I'll throw it back to you guys.
All right, the search, of course, JT, is intense because the person that they're dealing with has committed murder, has shot at police officers, and has indicated that they will do anything if they are capable of both of those things within the same time period. Interesting, too, JT, you pointed out that based on your observation at the scene of that shootout on Davidson, on San Bernardino Avenue, that it appears one of the suspects may have been, and we stress may have been, based on the shape of the body and the way they were dressed, female. So that's something we're going to look into as well and hope to get confirmed once we hear from law enforcement officials. I want to go to Leanne Suter right now. She is on the ground near the scene with the latest on the search. Leanne?
Well, Mark, this neighborhood remains shut down. It remains a very active scene there, obviously, where that shootout happened. Joining me now is Cesar Valenzuela. Cesar, you were in your yard, you say, and what happened? What did you hear?
we heard a lot of cops going by. We were just talking about the first incident that happened, and we were seeing a lot of cops come by down this way, and then we just hear a lot of popping, a lot of machine gun fired, and then we ran into the house, and it was going on for quite a while.
And you said earlier you heard one, describe for me what you heard, one initial shot, and then what did it sound like after that?
At first, it was a pop, and I figured it was one of the warehouses down the street, and I heard more pops, and then I heard even heavier gunfire. Yes, that's pretty much what happened.
And when you guys heard that, did you know right away what it was, and did you know what it was involved with, that it might have been the shooting from earlier?
Well, at first, the first pop, we second-guessed it, we got quiet, and then we heard several more pops going on. And then we see the cops showing up down the street, and that's when it hit us. You know, they're shooting right across the street. So then we ran into the house to cover.
And did you ever see the suspects from where you were, the suspect vehicle at all?
No, I wasn't able to see that.
And how long do you think that gunfire lasted?
I want to say about a minute, maybe 4 minutes.
And after that, did you hear any other sounds, any noises?
No, everything got really quiet, and you see more cops coming up now. They're all covered up in the street.
And I know, Cesar, you happened to be near that first initial shooting, the mass shooting there at the center. You saw officers surrounding that facility as well this morning?
Yes, the same exact example. We heard the cops go by, got curious, we drove into our car to see what happened. Figured it was a high-speed chase, and I could hear a fire alarm going off. And that's when I seen cops and undercover cars coming up, opening their trunks with assault rifles, telling everybody get out here. And we see the fire engine and all the other cops blocking off the road.
Cesar, you saw both scenes today. How do you even make sense of what happened today and what is happening in your neighborhood?
You know what? I don't know how to explain it. I mean, this is stuff I see in the news, and it's happening right in my backyard. You know, it's weird. Like, I don't know. It's pretty intense. I don't know how to take it, really.
And during the shootout here in your neighborhood, what concerns for your safety, obviously? What did you do with your family?
Well, our family took cover in the house. Everybody was saying getting inside. You know, we didn't know exactly where the shooting was happening. We don't know if a stray bullet could come by and hit one of us. We just instantly took cover.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Cesar. I appreciate it very much. Another description, very graphic description of what happened here in this San Bernardino neighborhood as that gunfire erupted. I'm going to move out of the way here just to show you guys again that this neighborhood remains locked down. From our vantage point, it's hard to see where most of the officers are at this point. A large number have left this intersection here at San Bernardino and Richardson, but the active scene is farther east on San Bernardino Avenue. That is where that shootout happened. That is where 2 of the suspects are down. They have been shot. That scene remains very active as police continue to search the area. Then we also can see another area earlier, farther south on Richardson here, just south of San Bernardino. That's where another large presence of police officers had gathered. That's because they were trying to find a potential third suspect that may be out there as that search continues. This is going to remain a very active scene, obviously, given that deadly shootout here between the suspects and police here at this intersection. This neighborhood certainly going to be locked down for hours as they continue their investigation. We've been still trying to get word on whether any of those items that were believed to be possible pipe bombs in the neighborhood, if those in fact were possible bombs. We have not been able to get any confirmation from that, but one of the neighborhood's residents we spoke with earlier said that the police came to his door and said that they needed to get inside because there was indeed a bomb outside of their front yard. One of the other witnesses we spoke with said that he saw the suspects throwing things out of the vehicle that appeared to be pipe bombs. Again, that is a very big concern. We saw SWAT vehicles move in earlier this afternoon, several of them as they went in to secure the location, number one, and number two, I'm certain to check out all of those items to see what they were and if they were possible bombs. We have not heard anything being detonated here at the scene. We have not heard any loud explosions of any kind. So just from that fact, I'm going to assume they are not, or they have been rendered safe if indeed they were bombs. But again, that was one big concern here at the scene. Certainly a frightening and terrifying ordeal for everyone here in this neighborhood. But again, this area likely going to be locked down for hours. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Leanne, thank you. And as we keep a close eye on the developments there in San Bernardino and the ongoing search for a possible third suspect, we want to let you know that we are awaiting 2 news conferences. One that is expected to happen, be given by San Bernardino County authorities in conjunction with the police department and federal authorities as well, and another from Loma Linda Medical Center, where some of the injured have been taken. Again, as many as 14 people have been killed and as many as 17 people injured following that mass shooting today at a social services agency that helps people with developmental disabilities. That shooting started about 11 o'clock this morning. What's been reported to us by authorities is that 3 gunmen entered in an area where an event was being held. And what we've gleaned from these authorities about that event was that it was a banquet, a holiday banquet that was being held for San Bernardino County Health Department employees. And we don't know if they were the intended target, if this was random, but we do know that as many as 3 gunmen came into that event area and opened fire. We've been hearing from a number of eyewitnesses, people who saw a dark SUV speed away from that scene, and then just a couple of hours later, we saw that dramatic scene on I believe it was San Bernardino Avenue, where that gunfight erupted and that SUV was found riddled in bullets. One gunman, suspected gunman, was found on the street with a gun laying next to him, and another person was pulled from that SUV, and as Mark, you said earlier, it may have been a woman.
Yeah, that's according to JT Alpa, who was over the scene and zoomed in when he was off the air onto the body and made some notifications, just watched it, but we're not sure yet. We're going to have to wait until we know for sure. Maybe that's one of the things they're trying to clear up at this point is before they go for that press briefing, which should have happened about 10 minutes ago. So we are hoping they're gathering more information. This is a fluid situation. So many facts, so much stuff going on here. 3 different scenes. Carlos Granda is at one of them, or near one of them. He joins us now with the latest from where he is. Carlos.
Well, there are a lot of scenes, actually, a lot of things going on at this moment. We're in Richardson and Colson, and this is the southwest area of the perimeter that's been set up in the area where they're searching for possibly that third suspect. You can see what's going on behind me. Here's the CHP. There's also San Bernardino Sheriff, all blocking this area, not allowing any residents in or out as they continue the search for the suspect. The helicopter is overhead, law enforcement helicopter is overhead as they search for the person. And if you can pan over on the other direction, you can see this is where law enforcement is staged, because they told me that the suspect actually went through the alley over there. That's why they have officers there just in case the suspect, if he is in here, comes out through the same area. So this entire area is on lockdown, and they're keeping people out of the area. Residents are being told to stay in their homes. As a matter of fact, there's some people there across the street. They're looking out through the windows, but they're still in their homes, which is what they've been told to do. Now, in the area is an elementary school, Victoria Elementary School. I was there a little earlier today. It is on lockdown. Staff and some students are sheltered in place, and I checked on their Twitter account, and they say that they are safe, but again, not being allowed to enter or leave the school while this operation is ongoing. Again, they do believe this third suspect possibly in the area behind me, and that's why they have this area on lockdown. No residents are allowed in and out. We're not allowed in and out because they are very concerned in case this person is possibly armed. Reporting live, I'm Carlos Granda. Now back to you in the studio.
Carlos, as we watch that search continue there, it's a very wide search area that JT Alpa described, bordered by Richardson Avenue, Citrus, and the 10 freeway, essentially. It's a pretty large area, and officers have been going pretty systematically through that area to try to look for this person because they have demonstrated how very, very dangerous they are. Let's go to Loma Linda University Medical Center where some of the people have been treated. They actually had a bomb scare earlier.
My name is Brianna Pastorino, BRIANA-PASTORINO. I'm the Public Information Officer for Loma Linda University Medical Center. Just to recap some of the events of the day, Loma Linda University Medical Center received word of the initial incident in San Bernardino in the 11 a.m. hour this morning. Our emergency department began preparing for an influx of patients. As the only level 1 trauma center in the Inland Empire region, we are prepared and adequately equipped for any type of mass casualty of this nature. We did receive 5 adult patients which stemmed from the original incident in San Bernardino. Of those 5 patients, 2 are critical but stable, 2 are fair, and 1 is still being assessed. And all 5 do remain in the hospital. Around 2:30 this afternoon, the hospital was put on a code yellow alert in response to a bomb threat. Hospital protocols were initiated as requested by law enforcement. Because of that bomb threat, Loma Linda University classes were canceled and students were encouraged to leave the public areas of campus. We worked with law enforcement to proactively screen the Loma Linda University Medical Center campus, including interior and exterior areas of campus, to ensure the safety of all of our patients and staff. This included an explosive detection K-9 unit from San Manuel. The code yellow was fortunately lifted after 3:30 this afternoon. The hospital remains on heightened alert, and law enforcement remains on the scene to continue to support operations. The hospital is fully operational and business as usual. I will take a few questions. I cannot confirm that. We had 5 adult patients that were brought to the hospital. We had 5 adult patients that were brought to the hospital today from the incident stemming in San Bernardino. I cannot confirm if it was a police officer.
You're not talking about later beyond the original incident.
All day. I don't know of that particular moment that you're thinking of.
What was the nature of the bomb threat that caused the code yellow?
There was, I don't know how that bomb threat came in. I do know that there was a bomb threat that was credible, and we looked into it. We went through our established protocols. We worked with security and law enforcement to determine that the threat was indeed not credible and that our campus was safe.
We have a confirmed news that their daughter received a lot of gunshot wounds. She is in surgery here at the hospital. Can you confirm that there is a young woman here who is attending a luncheon?
I can confirm that there are 5 adult patients that were brought to the hospital today from the incidents of the day.
Can you talk a little bit about what they're dealing with gunshot wounds?
I cannot comment on any types of the injuries.
Has families been able to be united with anyone? Has there been any reunions?
We had a station set up for the families of those victims where they could stay together and be strong for one another.
Is there a police officer here as a patient?
I cannot confirm if there's a police officer here. As of right now, we do not have, we're not on alert for any other patients from the incidents of today.
How are those 5 people doing?
Some patients inside of the hospital said that they're armed security. Is that correct?
During the course of the bomb threat, there was heightened security, armed security. There was law enforcement all around campus. So, yes, they were armed. We remain on heightened alert just as a precaution to ensure the safety of our patients and staff.
What was going on?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Family members might know that where they could have information.
The families of the victims have been notified and they've been directed where to go.
Brianna, why can't you confirm that a police officer was brought here?
I can't determine where any of the patients came from, whether or not they were law enforcement or not.
Are some of your patients low enough yet to share what they know with law enforcement?
Well, 2 of the victims are, I'm sorry, let me refer to my notes on the conditions. We have 2 critical but stable, 2 are in fair, and 1 is still being assessed.
So have the pair been able to speak with law enforcement and share information?
I am not aware of whether or not they've spoken with law enforcement or not.
What's the gender of these patients? Are these male, female?
No, 5 adult patients.
Where did everybody else go?
As far as hospitals, I would imagine that there are a couple other hospitals in the area. I can't comment on what other hospitals were involved.
When the call came in, what was the mood inside the hospital? How were you prepared to handle this mass casualty?
As the only level 1 trauma center in the Inland Empire, we are always fully staffed and equipped with ample staff, surgeons and nurses and intensive care teams to handle mass casualty incidents of this nature. We're always prepared to handle the worst of the worst injuries, like today, just like any other day. I can't recall completely. I want to say it was over the course of a couple hours, but I can't say, I can't give a definitive answer. No, I don't.
Do you have additional medical staff right now at the hospital, doctors?
I do know that additional staff was brought in. I don't know the number or what positions. I don't know, I'm sorry.
Any comments from doctors about how things were handled today? Do they have anything to say about what a day it was?
I have not communicated with any of the medical staff. Obviously, they've been very busy doing their job, taking care of these patients, and that's what they're dedicated to do, to make sure that these patients are able to leave here to return home with their families very soon.
And Brianna, where do we go from here? Are you expecting anything else tonight?
I definitely hope not. As of right now, we're not on alert for any additional patients. We are an active emergency room, so we really don't know what to expect, but we're always ready for whatever might come our way.
I spoke with one of your employees earlier, and he said that staff was shaken up because they had never handled something like that. Some of them. Is there any cause you have on your behalf, or is there anything else you would like to do?
I don't know any individual who couldn't be shaken up by this. We hear of these mass shootings all over the country, and I think you all could agree that this just hit a little bit too close to home. It is home. So we're all shaken by this. We're all bothered by it. And I think we all should just go home tonight with our loved ones and just really understand that this can happen anytime, and we have to be prepared for it.
Have you spoken to any of the loved ones who are waiting inside?
No, I have not.
There are 3 patients hospitalized. The 2 impaired and 1 still needs assessment. Is it possible that they could be released at some point tonight?
It is possible, but I don't know that information.
How will future information be released?
We'll continue to do so as we have throughout the day. If there is any new information that we can release, I'll update that message line. 909-558-7979. It is a pre-recorded message that is updated as necessary.
When you say adults, what age?
18 and older.
Has the hospital previously had to do a mobilization like you did today to respond to this?
In the time that I've been here, I don't recall anything of this nature. Being that we are a level 1 trauma center, I would imagine, and in the several years that we've been here treating patients in the area, I'm sure we have. But in the time that I've been here, this is not something I've had to deal with.
Do you have any of the people who've heard or injured report for the county health department? Is it possible that any of the doctors here have?
I don't know whether or not they did. It's possible any physician could know any patient that walks into our doors at any given time. So in this particular case, I don't know. I do not know that information.
How did the injured arrive? Were they all brought by car, ambulance?
I do not know that information. It's Brianna.
Brianna, but when I asked you about the equation, you paused before you got today too.
Yeah. This is my second home, and knowing that we're treating these people that didn't need to get hurt today. And, it's up to the team that resides in the building behind me to make sure that those people are able to, return home with their families, and we're making sure that we can do that.
Can you talk about the collaboration that the University Medical
I don't have any of that information. I'm not familiar with that.
Your Honor, since the suspect vehicle was located, was the hospital notified by law enforcement that the threat level would go down at that point?
I do not know if that was communicated. Thank you all very much for your time. We appreciate the coverage of the event.
Would you ask the families if they would feel?
Okay, you have been listening to a press briefing by a spokesperson for Loma Linda University Medical Center, which received 5 patients today from the mass shooting at the Inland Regional Center. 2 are in critical, 2 are in fair condition. 1 person is still being monitored right now. All 5 are hospitalized. And what's really sad is that here's a hospital that's treating these injured people, and then they became the subject of a bomb threat between the hours of 2:30 and 3:30 this afternoon. Another hospital that has received some of the patients, there were 17 injured in total, we believe, was Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. Earlier reports from our Annabelle Munoz indicated that they had received 6 patients. We are awaiting updates on those people to see how they are doing. But in the meantime, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center says they have increased security there, and that they would like all employees to still report for duty, regular duty.
Okay, in the meantime, we are watching a search area, some 18 blocks, bordered by railroad tracks to the north, the 10 freeway to the south, Richardson to the west, and Mountain View to the east. This is in San Bernardino. That's where that possible third suspect may be hiding, may have been seen. Several people have reported an individual seen running through people's backyards and running in different areas. There's an elementary school in that area that's been locked down for much of the day now, and that search continues. You see a lot of police officers. Our JT Alpaugh is over the scene now with the latest. JT.
Well, Mark, just within the last few minutes, it appears that there's a lot of vehicular traffic being let through right now. This is the intersection of Hart and Richardson right now, right near Victoria High School. We see that they're actually letting those vehicles go northbound and southbound. Just a few minutes ago, we saw about 4 armored vehicles go northbound up Richardson, back towards San Bernardino. So it appears that they possibly are breaking down this very large containment. We'll pan to the left out towards Mountain View Avenue to see if they're open. But you can see all the cars moving around in this neighborhood. That wasn't happening earlier, so it looks like people are freely driving through this neighborhood at this point. We'll go over to Mountain View, which actually goes underneath the 10 freeway. There was no traffic going on north or south on that street right now, and it looks like it's actually opened up right now. So that is good news, at least for the residents of this area. You can be assured, well, I shouldn't say that there's no confirmation yet, but it looks like they're letting residents in and out, vehicles are in and out, and it does not look like the law enforcement is set up in a containment posture, and those SWAT tactical teams did depart the area. So we'll keep an eye on that, but we want to recap the scene here down on San Bernardino. This is where the termination of the pursuit is. We're going to move into this area as we go a little bit further south here, Jason. You can see the large contingent of law enforcement here at the pursuit termination right now. We're going to roll some video of what we experienced here in Air 7 HD. It was absolute chaos. We were getting reports that we were hearing a pursuit, we were hearing shots fired, there were reports of an officer down. Well, we got to the pursuit and we actually found an intersection where we saw there was a complete car wreck. The suspect vehicle rammed into several other vehicles. They had one possible suspect, possibly an officer, down in the parking lot. That's still yet to be confirmed. It's 2nd and Allen. Then we were still hearing the pursuit was going on. The pursuit continued to the east and to the south and back eastbound on San Bernardino, where it came to a termination here in the 1800 block of San Bernardino, 1800 block of East San Bernardino. It's very dark right now, but when we came over the scene, literally 30 seconds later, there was a fierce gun battle here in the streets of San Bernardino Avenue here in the city of San Bernardino. We saw when we got overhead, one suspect had exited the vehicle and was shot and was bleeding. There was an AR-style assault long gun rifle at his feet. Officers then deployed with that armored vehicle, those Bearcat vehicles, up to that dark-colored SUV. It appeared to be brown to me, maybe black. They got those armored vehicles that were very close to the IRC Center. They were already deployed here. One of the main things that's happened here, there were so many resources in the area, and they deployed here so quickly. And managed to eliminate any further damage, but that shootout continued. They had one additional suspect within that vehicle. You can see some of the flashlights here. I'm not going to get too close against the flashlights and now illuminating that second body. That body was in the back seat of that vehicle where the suspect was believed to be with another rifle. They sent in several armored type vehicles, 2 Bearcats and what's called a Rook, a tactical type vehicle, a TAC Cat, where it had very unique front-loaded armored wall that was almost on a forklift. They brought that right up to that left rear passenger door, and they discovered that there was an additional suspect in the rear seat. They pulled that suspect out and pulled them onto the street, where that suspect was determined to also be deceased. So at this location here, the 1800 block of East San Bernardino, not very far from the IRC, we've got 2 suspects that are dead next to a very dark-colored vehicle with what appears to be at least 1 long rifle next to it. Now the investigation continues. You can see here as we're back out here live, there are several flashes going off. All the investigators are on this very dark block right now. They did not cover up the bodies. Now, we made an observation earlier, I'm going out on a limb here, but it was from observations that it was a possible female based on what I saw. That has not been confirmed. That's what's happening live from this scene right now. We'll get it back to you guys.
Okay, JT, thanks very much. We want to get now to Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes, who has been with one of the survivors of today's shooting. Rob, can you hear us? Rob Hayes, are you with us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
You can hear me. All right. So we're over at the Hernandez Community Center at Hernandez Park over here. This is one of these spots where a lot of the evacuees from the IRC have been brought, and they're reuniting with families. You take a look behind me. We just had a stream of them coming out. Here's some more that are going in right now. This is the community center where they are meeting up with family members so they can, finally head home. It's been a consistent stream throughout the day, and they all have. Okay, we've got some video that we shot earlier today. Dozens of people who were shuttled in here on buses and in vans. The family reunions all happening inside this community center, away from our cameras. But waiting here throughout the afternoon are dozens of folks who are nervous and worried about their loved ones. One of those folks was Sherry Escara, who hadn't heard from her daughter and son-in-law, who both work at the IRC. Basically we talked with Sherry earlier, and she was really concerned. She said she's very close with her daughter. She talks with her a lot. She hadn't heard from her all morning long. She's hoping that she was evacuated from the IRC, and that she was in such a hurry she left her purse behind, her purse with her phone. But again, it was her daughter and her son-in-law who both work at the thing. She hasn't really heard from them. Now, we haven't talked with Sherry in about 2 hours, so hopefully there has been a reunion, but we do not know. But again, it's been a very constant flow of evacuees here at the community center, so we'll throw it back to you.
Okay, come outside, come outside.
Okay, Rob Hayes, thank you. Reporting live from the Hernandez Community Center, and we've just been told that the authorities are about to give us that briefing that they said they would at the top of the hour. It's running a little bit late, and so we are waiting for them to begin that at any moment now. The last time we got the update from authorities, we were told that upwards of 14 people were dead, 17 injured, and that this shooting took place at during an event that was being held at the Inland Regional Center. It wasn't a situation where the gunmen were going from room to room. They went into one event area and opened fire. All the casualties were said to be in one area. The suspects then fled. And eyewitnesses said they were seen, at least one of them was seen leaving the scene in a dark-colored SUV. And they were also, we should note, dressed, as has been described, came prepared, quote, came prepared, dressed to do what they did as if they were on a mission, armed with long guns. That description coming from the police chief of San Bernardino.
Long gun, of course, being a description of what is essentially a rifle, as to distinguish it from a handgun. It appears at least that one of the suspects that we saw with the rifle that was behind the body appeared to be some sort of assault rifle or a semi-automatic weapon that was being used in this attack. They've got 2 people, it appears, that are deceased. They're still looking for a third. It appears a perimeter that had been set up has been shut down, at least for now, or at least diminishing. Let's go back to Rob Hayes and find out more about what he has heard from the people who were evacuated from the scene. Rob? Rob?
Away from building 2.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, we're here with Melinda Rivas, and she was in the building when all this happened. Kind of walk me through what you saw and what you heard.
I arrived to work this morning at about 10:30 or so, and went upstairs to the 3rd floor to my office in the 2nd building. About 5 or 10 minutes after I was at work, one of my coworkers down the hall started yelling and screaming. She said, oh my God, there's a shooting, oh my God, she just got shot. And then everybody just started running through the halls, and we didn't know if this was real, or she thought she saw what she saw, or what. And then next thing I know, we were told by the law enforcement, the SWAT team that was there, that we needed to go in the conference room. So there was 47 of us. We squeezed in our conference room, barricaded the doors, locked the doors with all the furniture in the conference room, hid behind our conference table, and we were locked in this room for about 20 minutes or so until we got clearance to vacate that building with our hands up.
And talk about what was going on in that room. What were people saying? How were they reacting?
Everybody was scared and nervous for our lives, praying, crying, yelling, talking, laying on the floor, hiding, and just calling our loved ones on the phone to let them know that we were okay, and just follow the news and make sure, we'll try to make sure that you guys know we're okay.
Mm-hmm. And talk about your location, where your office was in relation to where the shooting actually happened.
My office is in building 2, which is aside building 3. So all my coworkers who are on the 3rd floor and have the windows facing building 3 saw some people get shot and fall to the ground from that floor. So it was a pretty horrific experience, and we never think that we're going to be a part of it, and we see it on the news all the time, and today I was actually a part of it.
And what was the time frame like from the minute you heard the screaming until the time you guys were at
Hours. The screaming happened at maybe 10:40. We got to leave the conference room maybe by...
now that's taking place. Well, I guess it's not. Yeah, we're okay.
We're going to stick
for hours, and then from the golf course we went to the San Bernardino church, the Rock or something, and then interviewed there.
Okay, now this is the police chief of the city of San Bernardino. Let's listen to the latest briefing.
So this is the second official press conference that we'll do on this. I'm not going to go through all of the details that we went through in the first press conference, but I will say this. Since that time, we are still working on the building here at the Inland Regional Center. As officers were searching the building, we had mentioned in the first press conference that there were some suspicious devices. One of those devices is believed to potentially be an explosive device, so they're taking a very cautious, very slow approach to processing that building and rendering that safe. So I would imagine we're going to be here for several hours as the bomb squad continues to work that part. On the investigative side, we had followed up on some tips. That took us to a residence in the city of Redlands. When officers were setting up on that residence to watch it, there was a vehicle that was seen leaving that was suspected of possibly being involved. There ended up being a pursuit of that vehicle, and eventually that pursuit came back to San Bernardino Avenue between Mountain View and Richardson here in the city of San Bernardino, where the suspect vehicle stopped and there was an officer-involved shooting. We had multiple officers that were involved in the shooting. We have 2 suspects that are dead at the scene. One is a male, one is a female. We had 1 police officer that was wounded. He has injuries that are not considered to be life-threatening, and he is at a local hospital and is expected to be okay. Of the suspects that are dead at the scene, 1 is a male, 1 is a female. They were dressed in kind of assault-style clothing, I think is probably the best way to term it. They are both armed with assault rifles. They are both armed with handguns. And there's also kind of some sensitive stuff around the vehicle that they're just not real sure. They're taking a very cautious approach to dealing with the vehicle in case there's more explosives there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Bowditch with the FBI to talk about some parts of the investigation.
Thank you, Chief. So first off, my name is David Bowditch. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI here in the Los Angeles Field Office. B-O-W-D-I-C-H. First off, we want to extend our true sadness to the families of the victims. There are many, many victims who were involved here. Some are obviously deceased. Others are wounded and being treated as we speak. This is truly a tragedy in our country, and we will continue to apply all the resources necessary to assure that both us, the Sheriff's Department, the San Bernardino Police Department, as well as the ATF, work this thing together to assure that we have chased down every lead to solve this case. Secondly, we are bringing in FBI resources. We have agents on a house in Redlands, California right now. That house, as we know, we do not know the contents of what's in that house, but previous active shooter incidents have shown us that there are times when devices are left behind. We do not have any indications there are devices to my knowledge, but we certainly are going to proceed very cautiously into that house to preserve life and limb of our employees. We're bringing evidence response teams in to work hand in hand with our state and local partners on the officer-involved shooting scenes, as well as the scene here where we have multiple victims, as well as the house. We will continue to go down this road. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I know one of the big questions that will come up repeatedly is this terrorism? And I am still not willing to say that we know that for sure. We are definitely making some movements that it is a possibility. We are making some adjustments to our investigation. It is a possibility, but we don't know that yet. And we're not willing to go down that road yet.
David, the relationship between the two dead suspects?
Unknown at this point.
How old approximately are they?
I do not even know that.
This is a third suspect. There was talk of a third suspect.
There is a third suspect, and I don't know the disposition of that suspect. I would defer to that question to the chief. What I will tell you on any indications of terrorism or this investigation, and I've told a few of you already, we will go where the evidence takes us. Now, it's possible it goes down that road. It's also possible it does not. We're just not sure yet, and when we are fairly sure, we will let you know.
David, do you have a motive for this possibly terrorism?
There are a number of potential, and there's a few potential things, but we just don't know, and I'm not willing to go down that road. This is a very fluid, active investigation. We are still gathering facts. All the heads of agencies that we have here, we are still gathering some of these facts ourselves, because this scene is strewn throughout the city and into another city, and it's incredibly fluid, and that's just the way these things, we'll get there when we get there.
Do you have any information about the identity of the third suspect, description, age, anything?
So I should have included that in my in when I talked a moment ago. So as I said, we had an officer-involved shooting on Samuel Avenue between Mountain View and Richardson. There were two people in the vehicle. Both of those people are deceased. There was a third person that was seen running away. We do not know if they were involved. We have that person detained. I don't have any information on who that person is yet, and we certainly do not know if they were involved. It's possible that they were not. In addition to that, and the reason we put things out on social media that we ask for people to shelter in place in those neighborhoods is because there were some folks that called in and had reported that they heard somebody jumping fences, and they reported some of that activity in the neighborhood. We don't know if that was possibly responding officers, but we took a cautious approach. We locked down the neighborhood. We asked people to shelter in place, and we searched that neighborhood extensively. As of a couple minutes ago, we just got word that that search has been wrapped up. No additional folks have been contacted or seen there, so we feel that that area is safe and we can lift that shelter in place order there.
Chief, do you have a motive yet, and why this location?
We do not have a motive.
Approximately
approximate age of the suspect?
We do not. I do not have that right now. I do not. Keep in mind that I said that there were some things that were causing the officers to take a very, very cautious approach in approaching those suspects. And so we just are not that far into the investigation yet.
Is that possible?
I'm sorry?
Possibility these suspects might have had suicide vests or something similar?
I don't know. I have not heard suicide vests, no.
Do you believe that this whole situation is all clear, that people are safe, or there's still more shooters potentially out there?
We feel confident about the neighborhood where the officer-involved shooting took place, that we have secured that, and there's nobody outstanding there. We're reasonably confident on that. On the broader scale of the investigation, as I said early on, we had information that there were potentially 3 shooters. We are still at a point where we are tracking down that information. We're going to try to continue to identify if there was a 3rd person involved, or potentially even more people that might have been involved in the planning. But we're still pretty early on that part of the investigation.
What is there reports about a holiday party?
I can't listen to all of them.
Chief, there's a report out that at the holiday party, somebody left angrily, went out, came back with 2 other people, guns, and started firing. Any truth to that?
So I have heard that they were in a meeting or a holiday party type event at the Inland Regional Center. Somebody did leave, but we have no idea if that is the person that came back.
Oh, so that's a possibility then?
Somebody did leave. There was some type of dispute or something when somebody left that party, but we have no idea if those are the people that came back.
Chief, do you have any idea what kind of weapons were recovered at the point of the shootout? You said long guns initially.
They were assault style weapons. Yeah, that type of weapon, yes.
Are there explosives, sir, near that black SUV currently?
There was a report that they potentially threw what was identified as a pipe bomb. I think we've rendered that device safe. It was not an explosive. I think we're still working on the vehicle and making sure that that is safe.
Can you give us anything on description of these suspects, their appearance or ethnicity, anything, age?
Just the way that it was described to me is, and I said this in the first press conference, they came dressed and equipped, and I think the people that we have at the scene that are deceased are dressed in that way. They're dressed in dark kind of tactical gear, I think is the best way I'll put it.
Ethnicity, anything like that? Do you have any
I don't know. I don't know.
Since you served the search warrant, is it your understanding that they...
I didn't say we served a search warrant.
Okay. So I understand you served a search warrant, some were being told. So is it your understanding that they were holed up in the general area then the whole time? They never left?
No, there was information on the early part of the investigation. As we started to develop information, there was one particular focus area that we went. There were a couple. But there was one particular focus area that we went to, and it was one of those follow-ups, focus areas, that led us to the house in Redlands, that led to the ultimate pursuit that led to the officer-involved shooting.
Where they lived there? Was that their house?
The address was connected to the follow-up that we had. I don't know who the suspects are, nor do I know if that is where they lived.
Chief, do you believe that the police killed the 2 people in the end?
They were carrying assault-style weapons. I don't know the specific caliber or make or model of the gun.
Chief, the arrest at
Hang on, real quick.
People in the SUV?
There were 2 people in the SUV, both of them are deceased.
Police killed them both.
One male, one female, while they were engaged in the gun battle with police officers. And we had several officers that shot at them and into the vehicle. I don't know what bullets caused their death.
That person in custody being all sure they're involved.
We have a 3rd person that was seen leaving the area. He is detained. We do not know the extent of his involvement, if any. It's possible that he was not.
Arrested at Aurora and Colson?
The person was detained very close to where the officer-involved shooting. We don't have an Aurora. I don't know.
There was an arrest on Colson Street.
There was somebody detained.
They be identified?
We have not identified them yet.
Did that person have weapons on him? That 3rd suspect is detained.
I
Any
don't-
weapons located on that person?
I don't have that information.
Were there any words exchanged during this gunfire that you can speak of between the suspects and the police?
I don't know.
What's their nationality?
Don't know. Okay, we're going to try to do another press conference sometime around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have more information for you at that time. Thank you.
All right, you just heard from the chief of the police department there in San Bernardino with some very new information regarding the disposition of the suspects and how this thing all shook out in terms of how they got to the point where 2 suspects are deceased. They said they got a tip that led them to a home in Redlands. A vehicle was seen leaving that house that appeared to be that may have been involved in the initial attack on the IRC. Officers pursued that vehicle. The pursuit continued until that location that we're looking at here. That's where that officer-involved shooting happened, with 2 suspects dead, 1 male and, as it turns out, 1 female, as our JT Alpa had indicated earlier. And 1 person then ran from the scene. Officers detained that person. We didn't get a clear indication. The chief said they're not sure whether that person's involved with this case, or whether this was somebody who was just randomly running, but somebody was in the area, seen running away, detained by police. Unknown at this point if he's a suspect. So then they got some other information that some people saw people running through backyards in the area of Citrus and what was it, San Bernardino Avenue, and that they initiated a search there to try to look for those people, but they indicated that search turned up nothing. So they're now operating on the initial information that 2 suspects are dead, and there's still possibly a 3rd suspect that they don't have yet.
And we should also point out that authorities are still on the scene of the Inland Regional Center, working on an investigation of numerous suspicious devices that were found at that center where the mass shooting took place. 1 is of particular concern, according to the police chief. It may, in fact, be an explosive device. We are still trying to find that out. And if we get that information, as soon as we do, we will bring it to you. Let's go now to Bill Thomas. He is in Air 7 HD over the scene of the shooting that took place between the authorities and that what turned out to be a bullet-riddled SUV where those 2 suspects were killed. Bill?
Yeah, I've never seen as many shots fired as we saw today. This is several hours after the Inland Regional Center shooting. This is going to be on San Bernardino Avenue, not far from Mountain View at Cheddar. It's a residential neighborhood in San Bernardino. This is where that chase came to an end several hours ago. I saw the bullet-riddled SUV off to our left. It's very difficult to see right now. The flashers are on, but we've lost a lot of our light. A number of bullet holes in the windshield, a number of other windows were shot out as well. We saw 1 person out of the SUV on the ground bleeding and in handcuffs. We understand from law enforcement that person has been killed. A 2nd person we saw by SWAT officers pulled from the SUV. That person killed as well. So 2 suspects down. The 3rd search for that 3rd suspect continues. This whole area right now, San Bernardino Avenue, is entirely shut down at Cheddar, which is close to Mountain View in San Bernardino, right by the San Bernardino International Airport. Imagine folks here on high alert here in the neighborhood. This is one of the weirdest, strangest things, something you'd never planned for, never imagined, but it's all blocked off. People can't get into or out of the neighborhood. Folks try to get into the neighborhood, they will be turned around. A number of other closures, including Waterman Avenue and California, just off to our east, and that's also shut down. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Bill Thomas, thank you very much for that live report from the scene. We have some video into our newsroom of the police response to the shooting at that Inland Regional Center. That happened about 11 o'clock this morning. Nurse Dorothy Vong took these pictures and then sent them to her husband. She thought it was a drill at first, but clearly it was not.
Wow. Well, what happened after the shootings took place is that all the employees were evacuated. They were taken to a golf course across the street, and then eventually they were bused to different locations, one of which was a church, and another which may have been the Hernandez Community Center. We're not sure if that was an area where the employees were being interviewed by authorities or if that was just a meetup point for the employees and the loved ones, but we're told that at least 4 to 5 busloads of employees from the Inland Regional Center were taken to another location, and for many hours were cared for, of course, and also interviewed extensively by authorities so they could glean as much information as possible about the suspects, what they looked like, just trying to get as much information as they could. It seems like they got very good intelligence very quickly, because it wasn't long thereafter that they received word that 2 suspects were in this home in Redlands. And authorities showed up, and that's when that pursuit began. It went back into San Bernardino, and that's where that shootout occurred. And the SUV was riddled with bullets. 1 suspect was found dead in the street, and a weapon was found next to that person, the male, and the female was pulled from the SUV.
A lot of people, of course, have been watching this unfold all day and wondering whether this was an act of terror, whether this was a targeted attack. What exactly was behind this? And that question was asked of David Bowditch, the representative of the FBI in the Los Angeles area, who was at that press conference just a few moments ago. And They're still not sure. They're investigating this. They said there are some elements that point toward terrorism, but they're not sure. When they make that conclusion, they will follow the investigation wherever it goes. But at this point, they don't know yet. And they also don't know the relationship between the two dead suspects or what the motive may have been. We have Rob McMillan at the scene of the shooting. He joins us now. He's been there all day. He has the latest from there. Rob?
Well, not far from where this all started earlier today, just around 11 o'clock this morning, when shots rang out in that Inland Regional Center that's just behind me here, perhaps a quarter mile. You can't really see it, but the Santa Ana River is behind me, and then beyond that there is a group of 3 county buildings. That makes up the Inland Regional Center. We were told there was some sort of event going on there. Even the San Bernardino police chief used the term a holiday gathering that was going on there. And there was some kind of dispute when someone left that event, and they do not know. Some media reports have said that it was that person who came back and started some of this. The police chief says they cannot confirm that at all. They did know that there was some kind of dispute with what happened there. Regardless, 3 suspects armed with long guns and with body armor on them started shooting inside that building, where I'm told at this time of day, at the time of day when it happened, probably 550 people in that group of buildings, plus however many people were there for the holiday party, the holiday event that happened there. And a number of victims. You've heard the numbers: 14 people killed, 17 others wounded when those 3 suspects fled the scene. Now, as far as what's going on there now, from what we've been told, they are still working to clear the building. We do not know what evidence is there. Again, 14 people were killed. We can only imagine what the scene looks like inside some of those buildings back there. And perhaps most importantly, and this might be why it's taking so long for them to clear that building, the San Bernardino Police Department has come across what they're calling possible explosive device. A possible explosive device in that building. So that may be one reason why it's taking them so incredibly long to clear that building. One would understand anyway why it might be taking them so long to clear the building, given what kind of scene erupted there, a massive shooting there around 11 o'clock this morning. There was some time earlier this afternoon before the pursuit and the shootout between the suspects and police. There was some thought that the suspects might still be inside that building. Again, still working to clear that building, and it's going to take quite some time for them to do so. Again, considering the fact that they came across what they believe is a possible explosive device, and they have reason to take that seriously. Again, as you saw, it was a pipe bomb that they found near the SUV in the location of the shootout. And it's taking them a while to clear that scene as well because of possible explosive devices. Again, that's what we can report here that can only be described as near ground zero, just across the river there from where all of this happened. One of the deadliest mass shootings we've seen in California in quite some time. 14 people killed, another 17 other wounded, many of them still in critical condition. Back to you.
Okay, Rob McMillan, thanks very much. What we've learned from authorities is that what they believe is that after the shooting that 2 of the suspects, if there were only 2, we're not sure, went to Redlands, which is about 15 minutes away driving. And that's where authorities caught up with them. And that is where Bill Thomas is right now. He is over that home in Redlands, live in Air 7 HD to tell us more about this situation here. Bill.
Yeah, this is going to be 80 Center Street in Redlands, not too far from where the shooting happened at the Inland Regional Center, and not too far from where the chase ended in that deadly gunfire. It's going to be in Redlands in a residential neighborhood. There's the battering ram. We have SWAT officers here. We have what I believe are going to be county sheriff's deputies, maybe even San Bernardino police officers. They've got this house surrounded right now. They don't appear to be offensive or defensive, but they got the lights on. They've got a number of law enforcement officers in the area. The house is surrounded, and they're going to serve a warrant on what we believe may be the 3rd suspect involved in all of today's goings-on in the Inland Empire. So far, we haven't seen them move into the property just yet. Almost looks like an apartment complex. We'll let you know when they make their move here, and hopefully someone will be taken into custody and without incident. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Bill, thank you very much. Our Rob McMillan is live now with the San Bernardino County Sheriff. Rob, are you there? There you are. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I can hear you here with San Bernardino County Sheriff John McMahon. We understand that authorities are still working to clear that scene back there, the scene where this shooting all started. What might be going on right now in that area?
The active search is still going on. We were able to locate a device that we thought was suspicious. Our bomb techs were able to determine there was nothing suspicious about that device, and it was not an explosive. We found another device that they have reason to believe may be an explosive, so now the process slows down again to determine whether or not it is an explosive, and if so, we have to render it safe. We cannot continue to search that building until we make sure that there are no devices that may be injure our officers or our bomb techs.
And is the sheriff's SWAT team and or bomb squad a part of this search right now?
Absolutely. We have been partnered up with the San Bernardino Police Department since this event began. Our SWAT team has been working hand in hand with the San Bernardino Police Department as well as the regional SWAT team for our county. And our bomb techs have been working hand in hand with those from the ATF to render that building safe.
We understand there is that second possible explosive device. Has the rest of the building itself been cleared?
Yes, it has.
Okay, so is it safe to say that besides that device, the threat has been mitigated, no other suspects in that building at this point?
Yes, that's our belief at this point, based on what we know.
Okay. It sounded like, and we never want to report what happened over the scanner traffic, but from what we've heard, it seems like a lot of the information that law enforcement has received has come in from tips from the public. Can you elaborate on that?
We've received a number of tips from the public. However, there's a lot of investigation that has gone on by the San Bernardino Police Department and our officers as well.
Okay, lastly, we were talking a couple of hours ago. We've seen these things happen across the country. We've seen tragedy here in San Bernardino County. It was just your first couple of months on the job that the Christopher Dorner situation happened. I don't know if you know personally people who are in there, but emotionally, what goes through your mind as a law enforcement chief, as the sheriff of this county, when you have these kinds of things happen?
It's somewhat frustrating. Well, my primary responsibility is to make sure the residents of this county are safe, and we do our very best to do that. We train for events like this. We responded exactly how we trained. Unfortunately, we were not able to get there in time to save the lives of some of those victims and to prevent some of those injuries. Very unfortunate, and our profession and the law enforcement family in this county sends its sincere feelings of grief to the family and sorry. I wish we could have done more. We did the very best we could, and it's really a tragic event for us in the county.
Yeah, and actually one last thing, as far as any connection to terrorism, they were talking about possibilities. Is there anything you can tell us about what these possibilities might be?
They're still working on the terrorism connection, if there is one, and we'll continue to investigate that and make a decision as we move forward whether or not it's connected to terrorism. It's too soon to tell if it's connected.
And one of my producers was asking me to ask you, are you still concerned about pipe bombs in the SUV?
We're concerned about packages in the SUV. There was a pipe bomb discovered at some point during the pursuit. That was rendered safe, and it was not a pipe bomb. But there are some packages and things inside that vehicle that cause us some concern, and we want to make sure it's cleared by the bomb techs before we approach.
Thank you so much for your time, your information, Sheriff John McMahon with San Bernardino County. That's the sheriff. Again, it's not his investigation here. The San Bernardino Police Department has the lead, but they're playing a big role here as far as helping clear that building behind me, Inland Regional Center, where all of the horror played out earlier this morning. Back to you.
Absolutely, but an excellent interview there, Rob. It is now 6:01. You're watching Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock. David Ono along with Colleen Sullivan, and a remarkable turn of events in just the last couple of hours, Colleen.
Absolutely. It's been such a fluid situation that, you heard the FBI talk about it moments ago. This is a marathon. This is not a race, and they have done so much good police work to link to get to the pursuit, to have the two suspects down.
Remarkable law enforcement work so far. Now, here is the latest on this ongoing breaking story. A deadly mass shooting in San Bernardino. Now, it started just before 11 o'clock this morning with the shooting at the Inland Regional Center. Then, late this afternoon, a pursuit and a shootout in which two suspects, one male, one female were killed. A third person was detained, though police are not calling that person a suspect at this point.
And in that shooting at the IRC county facility, 14 people were killed and 17 others were injured. Now, those injured are being treated at several local hospitals. Throughout the afternoon, police searched for the 3 gunmen they said were to be armed with long guns and possibly escaped in an SUV. And around 4 o'clock this afternoon, that pursuit involving an SUV and an apparent gun battle.
One officer was injured. It is not life-threatening. Again, 2 suspects are dead. There were reports of possibly the third shooter. Again, a third person has been detained but not identified as a suspect. Investigators are also looking to clear a potential explosive device from the site of the original shooting. But now the focus is on a house in Redlands. We've already had confirmation that investigators honed in on this one home, and that's basically where this pursuit began. Let's go to Bill Thomas in Air 7 HD over the scene. Bill?
Yeah, David, this is not too far removed from all the happenings at the Inland Regional Center, not too far from the deadly pursuit came to an end over on San Bernardino Avenue, which is very close to that Inland Regional Center as well. This is 8080 Center Street in Redlands. They are serving a warrant here. You can see the SWAT vehicle in front of the house. That's a Bearcat. They've got what appears to be some other officers here in the neighborhood as well. Center Street's all blocked off. A couple of minutes ago with that well-lighted front porch, we saw a remote control robot being brought into the house. It came back out, and then just a moment ago went back into the property. What's happening inside right now, we don't know, but clearly this investigation is ongoing here in Redlands. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Bill, as Bill continues to watch the situation, a lot is going on when it comes to this information. This investigation, we've been fed so much information happening in so many different locations, and keep in mind, yes, 14 people confirmed dead, 17 people injured, some of them badly in critical condition. We're watching that situation as well.
Absolutely, and we've been hearing witnesses as well talk about what the scene that unfolded over several hours today. Again, this shooting started at 11 a.m., but what happened afterwards? Communities on lockdowns, schools locked down, areas people had to stay in shelter. A little boy, Joey, we heard a little while ago, he was at his grandmother's house. They heard the gunshots outside of their house. He was told by his grandmother, get in that bathtub, then only to have police come knock on the door a few minutes later as he's saying, please, nothing happened. Get out of your house. There's a bomb in the front. I mean, this has been a very fluid, very scary, very hectic and chaotic situation.
Okay, so now we want to go to Alex Michelson, who is at Victoria Elementary School. He has been covering this story all afternoon, getting remarkable witnesses. Alex, what do you have for us?
Well, David, we are at Victoria Elementary School. This is one of the places that has been locked down. This school was locked down for 5 or 6 hours. You can imagine how scary that can be for some of the kids here. We see the lights are on, but just in the last half hour or so, the lockdown here has ended, which was really good news. It allows some people to finally get out of here. The traffic now beginning to start up on this street again. About 15 minutes ago, this place was absolutely swarmed with cop cars. They got out of here very quickly. Now this neighborhood is back open after being locked down for several hours. Now a few hours ago, we were over at the Rock Church, which is where many of the eyewitnesses from the initial shooting were brought. We spoke to several of their loved ones waiting for them who described what happened inside the IRC. Some pretty extraordinary things they talked about, including one man whose wife was pregnant and working just a floor above where the shooting happened. Take a listen to what he had to say.
She heard a few gunshots, sound like rifles, and when it was in the front lobby area where she works at, and basically she was really frightened. They said they'd all go in the office and hide in the closet. They all hid in the closet in the building there, and pretty much waited for everything to calm down a little bit. And after that, they were on the golf course where they're at now. They went to the golf course for about an hour or two, and she's just real distraught right now because she's pregnant right now, so she's not feeling too good. But yeah, she's real frightened. It was a really kind of a shocking thing for her.
So she was able to get out of there okay. We also spoke to two grandchildren who talked to their grandmother who was inside as well. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
It was on the 3rd floor, and originally a fire alarm went off. So they all tried to exit the building because of the fire alarm. when they got down to the first floor, they were all pushed back into the building because they heard that there was an active shooter. And she was pushed into a closet where all the lights were turned off, and they were using their cell phones for light and just trying to see where they're going. But they were all shoved into a closet. Eventually, someone came in and knocked on the door. When they opened the door, it was all police with their guns drawn, trying to evacuate them. So very scary for her, I'm sure.
Just a frightening image, the idea of being in a dark closet, doors open up, cops with guns in their faces. Luckily, of course, cops and not the attackers. So they were okay. Right now, people are speaking with investigators. Hundreds of potential eyewitnesses have to be interviewed, and then the slow process of people being released one by one to their family members. Reporting live from San Bernardino, Alex Michelson, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Alex, thank you very much. What a scary situation for everyone involved in this situation. Let's go back to Air 7 HD and Bill Thomas for more. Bill?
Just pushing slowly on this.
Bill?
And then go to the right.
Again, Bill Thomas is live overhead in Air 7 HD.
We're trying to get things set up here on the helicopter. What we're looking at here is a mobile command post on 80 Center Street in Redlands. Told you a short while ago that SWAT officers came to the neighborhood. They're issuing or picking a search warrant to somebody in a home here in the neighborhood, which I can't show you because SWAT officers, they do have that home surrounded right now. We have seen SWAT officers in front of the home. They got a battering ram, a Bearcat there as well. They do have a remote control robot. The front door of the home in question is open right now. We saw a remote control robot going into the home. They brought it back out and then back in just a couple of minutes ago. It's unclear what's happening in that house, but they are issuing a search warrant to somebody in that home right now. We'll let you know what develops over there. For now, things look pretty quiet, though, here on Center Street in Redlands. Back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. Again, going back to the FBI, the press conference of the FBI talking about how everything was kind of linked, going back to this house in Redlands and how they linked this, then they went to the pursuit, and then the bullet-riddled SUV where the end of the shootout took place with the two suspects there. A lot of police work.
Keep in mind, that's what happened this afternoon. We're a lot clearer on that scenario. What we don't know is exactly what went down inside the initial shooting at 11 o'clock this morning when these gunmen, 3 of them allegedly, burst in and started firing. We don't know the scenario there. We don't know if they were looking for people specifically. We don't know how it eventually went down. We know there were, obviously we've already pointed out 14 people were killed and 17 injured, but there are many, many people who witnessed that situation because it was basically a holiday party, a luncheon going on for the San Bernardino Health Department, where an estimated 250 people were present.
But you heard the police chief of San Bernardino saying that somebody left, and then after there was some sort of dispute of some sort. No one has actually said exactly what that dispute was. And then the person left, and then moments later, the 3 suspects came back in wearing armored clothes, like tactical gear is what the police chief said, and then opened fire on these people. So what is
we
there
don't
link?
know if there is a connection with that, and let's say hypothetically there may be a connection, so that makes it sound like disgruntled people as opposed to terrorists looking to randomly victimize anybody.
But,
so if it's something that started out with an argument, that may fall into a different category than terrorism. And I'm sure the big question everybody has out there as this investigation continues is, was this an act of terrorism? Are we now where Paris had to deal with 3 weeks ago?
Absolutely. Well, you heard the FBI, David Burdich, talking about how he said he's not willing to say, only to say that it is a possibility to be terrorism related. He says he is following the evidence right now, and this evidence has been linking each one of these scenes that has unfolded over the last several hours, but a number of potential facts that he said that may be linked to terrorism. So obviously they have not ruled terrorism out. They're following leads that may be linked to it. Again, David, you said you were talking about it possibly being a disgruntled employee or person, but now let's continue with our eyewitness news reporters who are all on the ground and fanned out in that area. Let's go to Greg Lee now with the very latest. Greg?
Hey guys, we're being very careful at the discretion of Redlands PD. They don't want us to give away their location, nor do they want us to give away any of their tactics, as you can imagine in a situation like this, as they don't know what's inside this apartment that they're serving a search warrant on. You look behind me, you can see all the streets that are blocked off in our area. Redlands PD, San Bernardino Sheriff's deputies, all in this area blocking off and assisting in serving this search warrant, as you heard in that news conference about half an hour ago, regarding the belief that this is where they were doing some surveillance after getting a tip in the city of Redlands, then pursuing, and this is kind of where that car chase started that ended so violently in San Bernardino. Just a short time ago, we've heard announcements over the loudspeakers and things like that. Again, we're being very careful not to give away the tactics or any location of the San Bernardino Sheriff's deputies and Redlands PD that are assisting in this, but I can tell you that this is a neighborhood where there's a lot of people just on the street wanting to know what's going on, just like the scene we saw in San Bernardino, as people are looking for answers and lots of questions as they are now involved in this investigation of this crime earlier today. So we'll continue to learn what we can and find out what information we can give you as Redlands PD continues to serve this search warrant in the city of Redlands. That's it from here. Back to you.
Greg, thank you very much for that report. Greg's going to stay out to continue to watch the situation. And as he mentioned, we also mentioned from Air 7 HD, we're going to be very careful about what we tell you and about the images that we show you, because this is going down right now, this search warrant. They are heavily armed, the police department is, as they continue to search this do this search warrant. But we want to be careful not to jeopardize and show the position of law enforcement. But we believe if this is in fact an important part of the investigation, perhaps getting into this house could provide some of these answers that we have been discussing right now, Colleen. Is this terrorism? Who are these people? Were they simply heavily armed? But the big question is, if there are truly explosives out there, prepared, etc., who does that? I mean, a lot of people in the United States do own weapons. They own guns, they own even assault rifles, but who makes bombs? That is a whole different category.
Well, and again, you were just in Paris 3 weeks ago. Who may have planned this as well? Was it the three of those suspects? Are there more suspects? They're looking around. When we first started broadcasting this, it was an active shooter situation. We were trying to figure out, are there other people who are fanning out in the area? Again, the FBI department they're saying that agents are at that house in Redlands as well. So with the FBI helping out with local law enforcement, there's a lot of evidence being collected, a lot of gathering, and a lot of people kind of talking about what evidence they have gathered. So the communication is very open right now, which is very helpful in this situation.
Yeah, we did hear earlier, as Rob McMillan was talking to the sheriff, about the public's help in this, and apparently the public has been a huge help. A lot of information came their way, and from that information they were able to kind of lead to this place in Redlands, which is also where we started this pursuit. It led to that pursuit where those suspects, heavily armed suspects, with, as the police chief described, assault clothing.
Tactical gear.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The assault gear was on, as well as the weaponry. So clearly something is going on here, and that's thanks to the tips for the public.
And that's one of the things that you were covering in Paris as well. The community. If you see something, say something. That's been our motto here. If you see something, say something. But really, a lot of people live in our communities and we don't suspect anything. So this has really heightened our awareness. Our vigilance is up, and again, we have seen tragedies like this unfold across the country and across the world, and it again keeps reminding people that you have to be vigilant of all your surroundings.
Absolutely.
And you heard about from the LA County Sheriff talking about the department talking about know your exits. If you are going into an environment where you're in a classroom, you're in a building, you're in a work environment, just know that there might be a second exit from where you are, just to start thinking about this stuff.
We have a specially made video, and it's exclusive. The LA County Sheriff's Department produced this video. We revealed it exclusively earlier this year, and it's basically surviving an active shooter scenario. It's 9 minutes long. Keep in mind, they have reproduced various scenarios. It's a bit graphic to watch, but it is worthy of your time because it will teach you a lot. That's on our website, Visitsafety.com. In the meantime, let's go back to Redlands and Bill Thomas, Air 7 HD. Bill?
David, all we know right now from SWAT officers is that they are serving a search warrant to somebody in a home here on 8080 Center Street in Redlands. This may or may not have anything to do with what happened earlier today at the Inland Regional Center. It may or may not have something to do with the chase that ended nearby, but this could be something totally independent. You see police officers in the middle of the street. You see that yellow tape going left to right in the middle of the street. That's the crime scene tape, keeping people out of the neighborhood. SWAT officers are in the neighborhood. They've got the battering ram. They've got the SWAT Bearcat in the neighborhood. They've watched the SWAT officers take a remote control robot into and out of a home in the area. It appears to be a small apartment complex or a condominium complex. At this point, we can't tell if they made any contact with anybody in that home. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Bill, thank you very much for that live report. A lot of activity going on right now, serving that search warrant. What are they wanting to find that will link them to give them answers to the motive behind this shooting at IRC this morning at 11 a.m.?
I'm sure there's an abundant, if this is in fact the home or the location of where these shooters lived or actually worked out of, they will find a tremendous amount of evidence, and we've seen that time and time again when it comes to these investigations after the fact. When there's been a mass shooting, they get into the place where the shooters have lived, and that's when we find out more about their personality, who they're attached to, if they're alone in all of this, or if they have more of a network that they're working with. It also reveals motive, how long they've been planning, etc. So a tremendous amount to be gained by what's going on right now at this location in Redlands.
And they'll figure out if there is any kind of bomb-making area there and where they receive their supplies. Probably their computer searches on what they've been doing, just what to lead up to today and why this house is the focus of it.
There's also that chance, and we've seen that before as well. There's a chance that the home could be booby-trapped.
Yes.
With the understanding that they know this is going to go down, they know that the possibility is high that law enforcement eventually will breach this home. Did they booby-trap it? And that's another reason why sheriffs or investigators who are breaching this home have to be exceptionally careful. That's why Bill Thomas revealed that they're using a robot to some extent, and so they have to be very careful about the potential explosives that could be in that home right now, as well as who else might be living there.
Absolutely. And, we've been sort of seeing this all day long, people kind of responding through Twitter. Now, of course, the presidential campaign is also getting involved in this. We have a tweet right now from Hillary Clinton that said, I refuse to accept this as normal. We must take action to stop gun violence now. And also Donald Trump also weighing in on this. Heading to Manassas, Virginia for a rally. We'll have a moment of silence for the victims of the California shootings. So sad. Really is a tragic situation here in San Bernardino, right in our community.
Mm-hmm. President Obama speaking out earlier today, talking about how this is just all too prevalent in our country, far more than any other country in the world. These kinds of shootings are taking place.
And now we're going to go to Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz, who's also live in the field at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. Annabelle?
Colleen, we are here at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. We know at least 17 people were wounded in this shooting. 6 patients are being treated here. Today we spoke with the family members of one of those victims, 27-year-old Denise Peraza. She was there. She's a county employee. She was having that holiday gathering, and she was shot in the back. Even after she was shot, she called her sister, and this is what she said. And she just said, Steph, I was shot, and she was like crying, and so I knew she was serious, and I was just like, what happened? And she just said she was at a work thing, and the shooters came in, and she was shot, and she was scared, and she said, I just wanted to tell you that I love you, and then she said she had to go, and she hung up, and it was really scary after that. I didn't know what to do, so I called my mom, and my sister just got to talk to her. She called us from in the hospital since we're locked out of it, but she's doing better. She's okay. She's alive. That's the only thing that I'm concerned about right now. But she remembers seeing 2 men dressed all in black with black masks, and they didn't say a word. She said it was just gunfire, a pause, more gunfire, and then just silence until she doesn't know timeline-wise, but a few minutes later then, SWAT or police came in to help. As soon as the gunfire started, everyone dropped down to the floor and they were underneath desks. And she was trying to shield herself with a chair with the man who was next to her. And then all of a sudden she said she just felt it like going through her back. And luckily, you know, the shooters weren't in there for too long and they were able to get him out of there quickly. But it still was a little while before the ambulance and everybody came to get him medical attention. So luckily her wound wasn't as serious as some others, and she's all right.
You just heard from two of Denise Peraza's sisters. Again, she's 27-year-old. She was shot in the back, 27 years old, and we met her sisters here at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. They told us they rushed here. They were very concerned, of course, on the edge after they got that phone call from her and she hung up. It took them some time to locate her. She's also a newlywed. Her husband came to the hospital, and they said once they arrived, because the hospital had all this heightened security, they weren't able to get in, and Denise was able to call them over the phone, and she recounted all of what happened, all that she remembers. You heard some of that right now. Her family today saying, or tonight, that they're very happy that she's okay. They know that 17 people were wounded. They know at least 14 people died in these attacks, so they're grateful that she's okay, that they've been able to talk to her and spend some time with her. We also heard from officials at Loma Linda today. They told us 5 adults were taken there, 2 in critical but stable condition, 2 fair, and 1 person still being assessed. I'm sure we'll hear from more families as all of this continues to develop. That's the very latest here in Colton. I'm Annabelle Munoz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So much for that to report, Annabelle Munoz. Boy, that was really telling, hearing from the sisters of that victim.
Absolutely, and you know, we heard earlier from Loma Linda Medical Center, and they were talking about during their press conference that they had a special room dedicated for family members of loved ones who were rushed to that hospital. So the families of this tragedy obviously bonding together because it's a heightened security, obviously, at the hospitals as well.
Their story and hearing, just revealing what the conversation was from their sister kind of brought us there and gave us some idea on what it was like when these gunmen stormed this room, people scrambling for cover, everybody hitting the floor, getting behind whatever they can get behind. As she revealed, she got behind a chair with another man and then she felt the bullet go into her back. We truly hope that she's okay. And apparently from these sisters that she is going to be okay, thankfully.
They just rushed there, absolutely.
One of many survivors that we heard from, Rob Hayes, also talked to another survivor, and here's what he got.
I arrived to work this morning at about 10:30 or so, and went upstairs to the 3rd floor to my office in the 2nd building. About 5 or 10 minutes after I was at work, one of my coworkers down the hall started yelling and screaming. She said, oh my God, there's a shooting, oh my God, she just got shot. And then everybody just started running through the halls, and we didn't know if this was real or she thought she saw what she saw or what. And then next thing I know, we were told by the law enforcement, the SWAT team that was there, that we needed to go in the conference room. So there was 47 of us. We squeezed in our conference room, barricaded the doors, locked the doors with all the furniture in the conference room, hid behind our conference table, and we were locked in this room for about 20 minutes or so until we got clearance to vacate that building with our hands up.
All right, now, I mean, it's incredible, everyone's accounts of what happened inside that room.
I arrived to work.
And now let's go back to Air 7 HD and let's go to Bill Thomas. He is overhead Inland Regional Center where the shooting took place, where investigators are on the scene, and Bomb Squad is right there too. Bill?
Yeah, on top of the complex, this is the most recent information we've got right now. A suspicious device may have been left behind, possibly by those suspects. So bomb squad officers say they have found that device. What they're telling us they're going to do now, they're going to retrieve it. They're going to go to the east side of the Inland Regional Center, which essentially puts us into the back of the building. I believe it will be an empty parking lot back there, and they say they will blow up that device. I don't believe that's happened just yet, but you do see bomb squad officers right there in the middle of your screen, and they'll proceed here momentarily. Live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Bill, thank you. So that is one scenario that is taking place right now. That is the building. They described it a massive facility that is taking quite some time to clear. That's where the shooting started at 11 o'clock this morning, where 14 people were killed, 17 people were injured. They are still dealing with the physicality of that scene, trying to get rid of at least one suspicious device, possibly an explosive device that the gunman may have left behind. The other scene, of course, taking place in Redlands, where a search warrant is being issued right now.
Exactly. A search warrant being issued right now from local law enforcement and federal investigators, taking a look at what kind of evidence may link this to possible terrorism or possible rule terrorism out of this equation. But again, they are not taking any chances. There were possible bombs left at various scenes. Again, we heard from Leanne Suter at where the shootout took place. That was on Richardson and San Bernardino. And again, that's where law enforcement were telling witnesses that there may be a bomb. So again, several devices that are being investigated, several scenes right now where investigators are on. And again, you can see the left side of your screen is the Redlands house, where authorities are trying to issue a search warrant and try to get inside to see what kind of evidence links them to this deadly shooting that happened at 11 a.m. this morning.
That's Greg Lee. Our reporter Greg Lee is on the scene there. He will continue to watch the situation. Now, Greg, I didn't realize you're still there, but real quickly, we have a few seconds. Any updates?
Yeah, David, again, no updates still. We're waiting. We're told this is where the command post will eventually be started, as we're waiting for the public information officer from Redlands PD. Again, we're being very careful not to give any information on the tactics of the officers or their location, as this is a very sensitive situation. We don't know what's inside that home or what they're seeking inside of that home, so just being very careful not to give away too much information. But again, we'll bring you any updates as we get them. Reporting live in Redlands, Greg Lee, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Greg, real quickly, the neighbors in that area, are they being told to hunker down? Have they actually been taken out of their homes to basically evacuated?
David, everyone we've spoken to lives kind of in the general region, but no one off of this main street where the officers are all located, and they're serving that search warrant at this time. It sounds like everyone that is here is from surrounding areas and came out to see all of the commotion and has obviously been watching all the coverage and seeing all the updates from San Bernardino, and now find themselves in the middle of this investigation.
Yeah, that's dangerous. All right, Greg Lee reporting live from the scene in Redlands. Of course, we're going to be going back and forth to Greg throughout the evening, because that's going to be a central part of this investigation, what they find in that home in Redlands, what transpires inside that house. And we don't even know, perhaps there could be another suspect somewhere in there. We just don't know. We're kind of flying blind here.
Absolutely. Well, let's update you on the very latest on the deadly mass shooting in San Bernardino. It all started after 11 a.m. at the Inland Regional Center during a holiday party. 3 armed suspects with what's described as long guns opened fire inside the county facility. Officials confirmed 14 people were killed and 17 others were injured. And investigators are also looking into a potential explosive device. Hours later, a pursuit ended in a shootout with the suspects in San Bernardino. An officer suffered non-life-threatening injuries. 1 male suspect, a female suspect were both killed, and they were armed with assault rifles and dressed in assault-style clothing.
A third person has been detained, though police are not calling that person a suspect just yet. A search warrant has been served at that home in Redlands. Authorities still don't know the motive, but we are going to continue to follow this. Eyewitness News will follow the rapid developing situation in San Bernardino. Right now, ABC News is continuing our coverage in a special live edition of World News Tonight with David Muir.
And stay here for new developments and the latest on the investigation of the mass shooting live in San Bernardino. We will be back here at 7 o'clock for a special edition of Eyewitness News.
You can also get the latest in time at abc7.com. We'll see you at...
Good evening and welcome to California, the shooting rampage there. Our breaking news coverage continues as we say good evening in the West tonight. Welcome to this special edition of World News Tonight, and we begin as we come on the air in the West with late breaking details. The horrific scene unfolding in Southern California, gunmen opening fire in that building in San Bernardino, killing 14 people during a holiday get-together, a luncheon. 17 injured. That number could in fact increase as the night moves on. 10 in critical condition, we're told. And the aerial picture showing the dramatic manhunt that played out on national television, the showdown with police, the dark SUV riddled with bullets. And we now know tonight that 2 suspects in that car, a man and a woman, are both dead. They were both wearing tactical gear, both carrying assault weapons with them and handguns as well. And a short time ago, the chief of police in San Bernardino going before the cameras, and let's listen.
Of the suspects that are dead at the scene, one is a male, one is a female. They were dressed in kind of assault-style clothing. They are both armed with assault rifles. They are both armed with handguns. And there's also kind of some sensitive stuff around the vehicle that they're just not real sure. They're taking a very cautious approach to dealing with the vehicle in case there's more explosives there. There were 2 people in the vehicle. Both of those people are deceased. There was a third person that was seen running away. We do not